Anharad, glad to have you with us, and thanks for your time today. We want to ask you, as Managing Director of CGT Lettings, about the housing market in and around Cheltenham, particularly as government employment and housing support schemes come to an end in the next few months. But first, congratulations on your appointment as Vice President of ARLA Property Mark, which is the National Association of Residential Letting Agents. Can you tell us about that and its significance to Cheltenham?
Yes, great. Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me today. And thank you for the congratulations. So yes, you're right. ARLA is the Association of Residential Letting Agents. We've got 10,000 members across the UK. And together with Property Mark, which is our kind of sister company, we have about 15,000 members across the UK of letting agents, estate agents, inventories, and auctioneers. So it's pretty much the main body for letting agents to belong to in the UK. So really pleased to be appointed as the Vice President. And it means that I will become President-elect next year, and then I will become President in 2023.
Wow, fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It seemed like a significant appointment, and as far as the broader look and for Cheltenham, and you representing Cheltenham and Gloucestershire, how does that set?
Yeah, it's fantastic for Cheltenham and Gloucestershire because I'm representing Cheltenham on a national stage. So part of the role will be a lot of travel all over the UK to regional meetings from kind of Scotland, Northern Ireland to the whole of England and Wales. So it will be about representing Cheltenham and what's happening in Cheltenham's housing market across the whole of the UK and discussing that with fellow letting agents. And kind of feeding back our views of what's happening here. So it's fantastic for the local area that I have this role.
Well, congratulations again. Let's talk about the housing market. It seems to be bouncing back from a difficult 2020. What are you seeing in both the lettings and property markets in Cheltenham?
Well, yeah, 2020 was very difficult, but actually in terms of property, in terms of especially sales, it was quite a successful year because we had lots of government intervention, such as the stamp duty holiday, which really drove the amount of sales transactions throughout the latter part of 2020 and into 2021. So what we've seen because of things like that is that house prices have gone up. So in Gloucestershire, house prices have gone up by 14%, which is above what we would normally expect. And then what we're also seeing is rents then going up as well, especially in areas such as your kind of more countryside locations like Stroud, Tewkesbury. We're seeing a real lack of stock because demand is going up so quickly. And because demand is going up, that means rents are going up too. So it's very interesting, the housing market, how it has been throughout lockdown 1, lockdown 2, and as we're coming out of the pandemic now. But it has been a very successful few months for both sales and rentals.
And do you see that rise continuing at such a clip?
I think things will level out. So the amount of transactions that happened in July and looking like in August as well has reduced for sales. We're also seeing less people bringing their properties to the market. We are still continuing to see both buyer demand and tenant demand. I've never experienced the kind of tenant demand that we're experiencing at the moment. We're seeing rents going to sealed bids. We're seeing a complete lack of stock. So, for instance, in the whole of Tewkesbury, there are only 10 rental properties available at the moment. In the whole of Stroud, there are only 9. Cheltenham, which used to see kind of 400 properties available, is vastly reduced, kind of looking at under 100 at the moment. It's a very different kind of market we're experiencing, where demand is driving the rents up, but there's just no stock there at the moment.
Wow, amazing. So what would you like to see local and central governments doing as far as supporting the housing market going forward, from stamp duty or, rent support grants and the like?
One of the concerns we have at the moment is that furlough is due to end soon. And obviously there have been a lot of people out there where furlough has helped pay their rent. And what we're concerned about is if furlough ends and there isn't any further support out there for tenants to pay their rent, that will then have a knock-on effect for landlords who rely on that rent, either as a sole source of income or as to pay a mortgage. And then also what you might experience is if rents aren't paid, not only does it affect the landlords, but it affects letting agents, because letting agents get paid from fees that are paid by rent. So, and the government needs to come out with some kind of support scheme for tenants in order to ensure that their rent still gets paid. And it's something that Arla were pushing very strongly at the start of the pandemic, which was keep the rent flowing. And we're hoping that once furlough ends, there will be something else announced, either from local government or central government to assist with that. There's also, one of the concerns I have is with regards to demand. So because landlords have so many tenants available for their properties, what's happening is that they're choosing the best tenants, which means that we're seeing lots of low-income tenants who may have bad credit, who may be in receipt of housing benefits, are not being chosen. And that could potentially create a homelessness situation. So we're really hopeful that with Arla, they're working with groups like Shelter to try and get government to look at this and try and produce some kind of solution for this as soon as possible.
Wow. Well, good luck with that. Seems like a very tight situation in the market. So it's difficult to predict as we head into the autumn and winter months with the pandemic. But what do you expect to see happening over the next 12 months in the housing market here in Cheltenham?
Well, yeah, it is difficult to predict because we're hopeful that we will continue on the kind of outward spiral from the pandemic. But normally the winter months, the autumn months, they are a quieter period for sales and lettings, and we tend to see more of a spike in the spring. So I think that over the next few months especially, we will start to see a slowdown in terms of transactions, in terms of people bringing their properties to market. And hopefully that will stabilise rents a little bit, stabilise house prices a little as well. We're looking, there will be quite a bit of government intervention in terms of legislation change that will be happening shortly. There's rental reforms that we think will be coming in. They were announced in the recent Queen's speech. And there's also some reforms coming in with regards to leaseholder. So there will be some changes coming in, and I think it's going to be an interesting few months for the property industry.
Great. Well, Anne Harrad-Truman, Managing Director of CGT Lettings and Vice President of the Arla Property Mark, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks very much for having me. Thanks, Dan.